Welcome to Learn Ubuntu Live. I'm Tom Judge. This presentation will cover the first chapter in Learning Ubuntu Basics. Some options we can consider for installing Ubuntu Linux. So let's watch the presentation now. First part of our presentation is the beginning of our course, all about learning Ubuntu and how to get it installed and what you want to consider when you install Ubuntu. Things to think of. One thing we do have I want to mention is on our website, in the students section, there is a download of Clonezilla. Now with Clonezilla, you can make an image of your hard drive before you try to install Ubuntu. That way you can restore it. And also in our PDF library of the students section, there are 3 documents with instructions on how to use Clonezilla. So a word to the wise. If you have stuff on your hard drive, you're doing a shared install, you want to back it up first, we provide you with the materials, the instructions, and the software to do that. It's all available in the download section and in the PDF library section. Okay, so let's move on with our presentation here. You want to learn about Linux, but you're not sure where to start. You know, most computer things are like the chicken or the egg. Which comes first? What order do you learn things in? Very often you learn something out of order, and then it all catches up eventually. If it seems a little confusing at first, don't let it get you down. Don't give up, because it is. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Don't let that bother you. You'll read things a couple of times. If it doesn't make sense, put it aside, move on, and eventually it will make sense. I promise you that. Now, if you're uncertain about using Ubuntu Linux or any other flavor of Linux for that matter, Ubuntu provides a thing called Wooby, the Windows Ubuntu installer. And that is also available in the students section of our website, or you can just Google search it and download it. It actually installs Ubuntu into your Windows machine as if it's a program. You can even remove it, but you can get a little hands-on experience with Ubuntu Linux and still cling to your Windows if that's what you need to do. Now Linux, what is Linux? Well, it's very popular, more popular than you may think. Many broadcast manufacturers, and that's my day job, many broadcast manufacturers are using Linux now. For example, the new Calrac audio console, a high-end broadcast audio console. The newest version is all based in Linux. There's no more Windows in that product. The Cambotics, Camera Robotics, also based on Linux. And the Sony 5000 switcher, the new switcher from Sony. That also uses Red Hat's Linux in its core. So Linux is here to stay. Android phones. They're all a flavor of Linux as well. They're based on the Linux operating system. In fact, if you go to a console in an Android phone with a little console program, you'll find you can type Linux commands there. It's probably the most powerful friendly phone being made. Now, Linux is not really a newcomer. You're looking at this illustration here. The GNU project was started by Richard Stallman back in '83. Microsoft became popular as an operating system on PCs right about the same time, and not that long later, early '91, or mid-'91 rather, Linus Torvalds released the Linux kernel. So all this stuff's been around for close to 30 years now. Respect your elders. Linux is the operating system built for the Internet, on the Internet. In its most recent survey, there are reports of over 44 million websites on the Internet today. And we've seen about the Internet in the movies and the media, named movies like Hackers, The Net, Dr. Strangelove, and War Games, all about the birth of the Internet. And the Internet is based largely in Linux. Most of these servers you'll see today are Apache servers, which are Linux-based servers. And Ubuntu and Linux come in many flavors. Now, we recommend that you install and use the Ubuntu Standard Desktop 10.4 for this course. That's a long-term supported release. It uses the GNOME desktop, and it's very stable and very well supported. After you take this course and learn it, there are other flavors you can choose from. I tend to use Ubuntu Studio myself because that gears towards multimedia, which enabled me to build this whole facility here. As you look around here, you'll see these are all Linux machines. All the audio and video processing, as you see on the website, all the graphics, all the content, everything is all made with Linux. Nothing is made with anything that's Microsoft or Mac. We're an all Linux, all the time house. And there are many flavors to choose from. Now, again, if you're not too sure about Linux, you're new to this, you want to dip your feet in the water first and see what the temperature is, you can easily Google search Ruby or download Ruby from our website and install that. If you Google search it, you see Ruby, click on it. It's a self-extracting, installing file. It's really a no-brainer. And if you're not happy with it, you can use the Windows Add Remove programs to take it out later. It's also available on our student download section of our website, along with the regular Ubuntu CDs. Various flavors of Ubuntu CDs are there. And like I mentioned, we also have the Clonezilla available, so if you want to back up your machine first and making a Clonezilla image, and the Clonezilla instructions are in the PDF library of the student section. So, maybe you're ready to take the plunge and you want a real, full-blown Unix system, or a Linux system rather. The installation is fairly easy and straightforward. We document several flavors of Ubuntu and Linux install in this course. Pick the one you like and go for it. When you pop the CD in, you can either try running on the live CD as well, or go ahead and do the install. You just have to provide some basic information, and you're ready to go. If you pop the CD in on your Windows machine, you'll get a similar dialog that will start. You can install it alongside another OS and have a dual boot system. If you do that, the Grub bootloader will install, and when your machine boots, you'll see a choice of picking the Ubuntu Linux or the Windows. You can erase and replace your operating system if you've had it with whatever other operating system you're using and want to just start out fresh. Or you can do a manual disk partition. If you're a more advanced user, there are ways to manually repartition your disk. And we cover several of these options in our course here. Here's a screen showing on a normal install with Windows already installed. It offers to split the partition for you, depending on how much space your Windows has already used. If you have enough space left, you could do an Ubuntu install right alongside Windows and get to try them both for a while and do a comparison. As I said, after you install, you will see the Grub bootloader. We're showing it here on the screen, which lets you choose whether you want to install the the Linux or the Windows. Once it's installed, you can even access the other partition with your Windows files from the Ubuntu. And here we see some Microsoft Office files. You can actually click on them and open your pre-existing Office files with the OpenOffice, which is the Office application that comes with Ubuntu. This, by the way, is the newer Unity desktop. I will be adding an appendix to the beginner's course describing this. Most of the course is based on the standard GNOME desktop. And the reason is that a lot of people will use an older machine for their Ubuntu Linux, And if you don't have the latest, greatest video card, you may not get what you really want out of this Unity desktop. So for that reason, we're sticking with GNOME for the course, but I will be adding an appendix to the end about the Unity desktop. Now when you boot, okay, once you enter your username or select your username, if you click this little item on the bottom of the window here, you can select Ubuntu Classic, which would be the GNOME desktop. Or if you pick Ubuntu, that will give you the new Unity desktop. So by all means, you can experiment and try it. And here's a screen showing the same login, only this time we're selecting the new Ubuntu desktop, which is the Unity desktop. And that's what the Unity desktop looks like. And that's it for our little introduction here on using the Ubuntu Linux.